You probably heard in my voice how cozy I am. Connor, are you?
I was going to say we should start these with a cozy, fit check kind of thing. I don't know.
It
I'm
is.
in an
It's
alternate
kind of
location. It's a little
snowing here
warm.
in Minnesota.
Okay.
Light snow. I don't know if that counts. It's kind of just gives like an ugly little patina of white over the kind of the dead grass and everything. I don't know how cozy that is yet.
How cozy does it look compared to the fake snow in Hot Frosty?
Mm, hot frosty. Yes, everyone, we are back in the cozy season. We're back in the, this is 372 pages. We'll never get back. I am Michael J. Nelson. Conor Listoka is with me, of course. And we're reading the first reading of The Quilting Cruise? Or is it
Quilting
Quilting
Cruise.
Cruise? That's it? There's no the?
I I think it's the Quilting Cruise by the Devlin sisters.
Okay. I just want
Yes.
to make sure that I'm not, like 80s bands. They're always the something.
Mm.
My son always makes fun of that. Why do they put the in front? Like, I don't know. That was just a
Right. And then you
presentation.
get
Like,
one that's
the
Arcade
quilting.
Fire, and it's not the Arcade Fire,
No,
and
it
it's
is
like,
Arcade
okay.
Fire. Yeah. So, anyway, we're reading a cozy book. And to warm up for it, I did, in fact, take a bullet for you all. And I watched Netflix's, I believe, number one movie or number one, streamer, Hot Frosty,
Yes.
starring Lacey Chabert or Chabert. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce that. And some dude. Now, you might be surprised to learn that you'd think this is just another holiday movie, but it is actually like a sensitive re-portrayal of like the Proteus myth or the Prometheus myth, I mean, of like like what is life? What is consciousness? What is it to be human? No, of course, it's a Hallmark paint by numbers.
Frosty is condemned to have his liver pecked out every day by a new vulture.
Well, when he was ripped from the thigh of Zeus, I was like, wow, this is different than I would have expected. No.
Well, you talked about seeing it, and we came down to my parents' place in North Carolina, and was just like, well, let's just see what this is like. And uh, 7 minutes into like Craig Robinson's shtick as the chief of police, it was just like, let's just fast forward to the Roy Orbison Pretty Woman shopping montage, so we can see that and then check out.
Well, to be fair, I didn't actually like sit down with my to watch it. I writing other stuff, doing other tasks, and it's on. I have a sort of I have a TV in an adjoining room, so watching it means it's on in an adjoining room, and then I can go in when all of a sudden I hear do 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 do, Pretty Woman, and yes, they're doing a shopping. We've got to get you some clothes
You
for
did
the
the
holiday ball.
yeah. He comes out in an outfit, and she goes, shakes her head no, right, and
Crosses
then
her
it finally
arms.
comes out. But it was pretty much the equivalent of one of these cozy books, essentially like the Christmas River one. The book, the town was called something like Hope Floats or something. It
Hmm.
wasn't
It
anyway.
wasn't Hope Floats, but yes, it was like Hope Rises or something like something like that.
And much like I guess Miranda in this book, she had a deceased former husband, so leaving her, open to this new relationship with the Hot Frosty that was developing. So all the trademarks were there, and it was eternally Christmas. The police office, like the holding cell, where they're like slamming the guy into the interrogation table, is like nicely decorated with red and green bunting and stuff.
Here was my. This is just hard to get over because this is a sensitive area. I want to be sensitive to this actor, who he was. I mean, he's ripped. And
Okay.
when he was a snowman, she makes a comment and she's like, "Wow, you've been doing your crunches or something." And then he comes to life and he's this dude with no shirt on. He's completely nude when he's born, from made alive by the magical scarf or I don't know, whatever. Anyway, he's very what do you call it? He's a vascular dude. He's got veins are popping out. He's 3% body fat, but like everyone who sees him is like, well, oh, and his face, like, he's just a normal guy. It's like, I mean, it's perfectly fine. I'm not one to judge. I don't know. But what did you think? I just couldn't get over, like, you know how they do that in shows where like someone shows up and then all the women just start going, oh, he's so handsome. Like, well, I can see him too, you know, like you can't just
Right.
assert that.
We all know what the bar is here. There's
Yeah.
like 10 movie stars, and so like it's unattainable. But the Hallmark bar, or whatever this equivalent of the Netflix is, like we said, it's like the Glenn Powell, sort of emerged from that to become Hollywood's next biggest thing. But there's a universe where he's just making 7 of these every year and falling in love with the local bake shop owner in these. So that's sort of the baseline here. And I felt like, yeah, he was a little below that. This guy here, looked like he was a comedic actor that somehow wound up in Hot Frosty.
Yeah, he was good. That is another thing, though. Oh, no, I watched, it wasn't in Hot Frosty, sorry. It was in, then it auto-played another holiday movie, and it was about like a Paris Hilton type who, and of course, it's like a much tamer version of the Paris Hilton type, goes to a small town and fakes being a baker. And so then Andy McDowell takes her under her wing and is like, you're going to help me bake. And then she's like, you've never baked a thing in your life, have you? So like, I thought the fake baker thing, what a twist, huh?
Yeah.
She pretends to be a baker, but she can't actually bake.
Did that lend itself to a montage of failure and shaking the head and batter everywhere? And
That starred the guy who was in, oh, you'd recognize him. Now he's in everything. He's not Glenn Powell and everything, but he's kind of like on a second tier. He's more of a comedic guy. I can't think of his name. Shoot. I'm sure he was in like Top Gun or whatever, but I can't think of his name. But I don't know. The montages, I don't think I stuck that one out, I'm afraid. But
wow, well, it sounds like, even if the weather outside is not so frightful, you're delightful inside with these cozy Hallmark mysteries and slippers, perhaps. Cocoa.
I am cozying up, and I'm ready to go on this book. And boy, it did not disappoint.
So this is, you want to catch people up on the first book in the series, just in case they didn't read it? I mean, just so, I think this one happens later in the series than the Quilters Pushback.
Yeah, it focuses on Miranda. Miranda, what's her last name?
That's a good question, and that will come up later. On the book cover, it is listed as a Miranda Hathaway mystery.
Okay. Oh, wow. Do we have another? Oh, boy. All right. I can't wait to sink my teeth into this.
It's a Miranda Hathaway adventure. This is number 9 in the series.
Okay. Miranda is part of a quilting club. The club is run by Queenie. She is married to the extremely dreamy Gabe, right? Gabe?
Yes, Gabe,
Yes.
a former either CIA or FBI agent, I believe.
Who is he's like Hot Frosty aged out a little bit. Because they don't say the age, I don't think, anywhere, at least not in this reading. But they do sort of hint towards senior citizen. But he is a silver fox like oh my God, all the other women just drool over Gabe. And Gabe can run the long arm. I don't need to explain anything there. Gabe just runs the long arm. That's just how it works. And they have adventures, clearly. Her first husband, I don't want to spoil it.
We'll get to it, yeah.
Yeah, let's get to
He is
that.
deceased, much like Lacey Chabert's in Hot Frosty.
Yes. So, it's just a quilting club, and they go on adventures, and I think they solve crimes or what have you.
Well, yeah, they take it upon themselves. It sounds like there has been actual murders, which I hope we're getting to in this book. They solved a epidemic of drug pushers who brought in X bars via the interstate system, and college students were ODing. And I forget exactly how they stopped that. That was years ago. But they had civic meetings where they chanted, "Push out the pushers," and that was, I think, their main course of action.
I was trying to think, did they like drone bomb the interstate so that no one could travel to their town? But I don't think it quite came to that. I think they found another solution to it.
Yeah, that was Dee's plan, but they got voted down.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel like there's been missing, babies left on doorsteps, and there's been missing jewels. I think there's been quilt raffles rigged. So the crimes are of varying degree.
I think we're back in Idaville again. Like, I think there are probably like almost poisonings, or perhaps there were poisonings, or stabbings, or what was the one cozy we did where that was in like New Mexico or whatever?
Hmm.
Someone was like murdered at the party, right? At the Christmas party.
Yeah, Santa was face down, right?
Yeah.
Fa-
Like pants
with his
off.
pants
Like,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Oh, how
That's got to be
quickly.
true if we both remember it that
Yeah,
way.
how quickly we forget the coziness. Anyway, so that's we're on page 1. So we'll learn all of this. All of this coziness will come at us quickly. So,
But the way that this one starts, I feel like a lot of our books start this way with a sentence that's like directly out of an Andy Rooney monologue.
okay. What is the? Let me get to the. Do you have it there?
Can I do it? No, no,
Please
but I
do.
do have it here. I don't want to go on a cruise ship.
I don't suffer motion sickness, but have realized along the way that I do have an unreasonable fear of water. Big water, endless water, water stretching to the horizon, especially. Yes.
Andy Rooney Quilter Files.
Yes.
So yeah, this is our narrator and lead, Miranda Hathaway, who is narrating that she has a acknowledged by her as an irrational fear of water that you can't see the end of. Well, not really irrational. It turns out she can't swim, so that seems somewhat rational.
Yes. And that
But
becomes a running joke is she's not afraid of water. She's afraid of drowning. Which is kind of, I put it on par with that joke with people who go like, I'm not afraid of falling. It's that sudden stop at the end. You're like, God, yeah, that's how, that's how it works. Anyway.
But the reason this comes up, I mean, it gets to the point really quickly that Queenie and Sarah, the president and the most senior quilter, no telling how Sarah got ousted as potential president, even though she's the most senior. They went on a cruise a few months ago, and now they have come back already excited for them to go on another one. So the lifestyle of these Quilting Guild members is just endless, luxurious vacations, I guess.
And I did note pretty quickly we get our first exclamation point.
Okay.
I don't know if you noted this one, but it was they talked about it off and on, and then last week they handed out brochures. I was just happy that brochures was the thing that caused her to finally unleash the exclamation point on the world. Up to that point, pretty subdued, but oh my God, we have brochures. So
I wonder if it's one of those things where they get their stateroom for free if they recruit enough people to come with them. So that's the gig here.
that's I think one of our listeners, I was just looking at the comments, said that there are a lot of quilting cruises, and I assume that's the grift, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You're not going to pay for your own. If you get enough people, you get your free suite, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how they all work?
I believe so. And looking at the trying to find the book, Googling, you have to put like Quilting Cruise Devlin. Otherwise, lots of quilting cruises come up when you search for this. So it is a real thing.
Okay.
She tries to ward off this cruise, and she is afraid, by proposing hey, how about a guild trip to Las Vegas? There's a quilt conference there in early July. Dead silence followed. So it's like she just walked in and said, Hitler had some good ideas. People just all the sewing machines like grind to a halt immediately. Gabe even walks out, from running the long arm and looks at her like, "What the hell did you just say?"
No. When I saw that, I thought that's probably true. Can you and I go? I mean, they can't keep us out, right?
Of a quilting cruise?
No, go to Vegas in July
Oh,
for the quilting, the guild trip to Las Vegas. A quilt conference there in early July. I'd meet you there.
sure, yeah. Do a little research. I mean, you
Yeah,
can write the whole thing off once you take some footage and report back, right?
exactly. That's my plan. This is a big write-off.
So there is later on the quilting cruise, there are some men there, and it was like, yeah, there has to be if there's quilting cruises, there have to be like whatever the male equivalent of quilt cougars are on these type of things, being like, oh yeah, quilting, sure, yeah, I don't know, like let me get you a drink type of thing.
Yes. So then the people who are there for like, I'm in the, I came for the knife making seminar. I'm like, I'm a quilter. Like, how do they like get along? Like,
Well, that's the thing. It's like
The
all
guy
these
with the
cruise ships are.
tats and the, no sleeves and stuff, who's like,
There's a blacksmith's convention here too.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that you have a boat. Like I don't imagine that it's like entirely populated by quilters. There's like
no,
people who are just interested in the tropics that are there at the same time.
I'm assuming
One
the
person.
nudist enthusiasts take up one part of the ship. I'm assuming.
They get they reintroduce the characters of time, and I liked that Brittany, a pixie brunette and a mother of three, says that doesn't think she can go. John and both of our families offered to arrange a schedule for the kids these week, but Braxton is only 11 months old. I don't think I can leave him for that long. It's like, I don't know. You got a kid named Braxton. You got to be looking for any excuse to get out the door and leave that kid at home for a while.
I couldn't even. I was gonna like research other Braxtons and stuff, and then I thought, yeah, that's not fair to. Okay, people name what they name. I'll
Sure.
have to accept that.
Well, I'm glad I went there then.
Braxton. I used to do a character with my kids where I would, and this is not a slant. I know this is a common name, but my kids would love it when I would play the submissive father who would just let them do anything. I would just do it for like 20 minutes or something. And I would bend down to their level and go, now look, Skylar, we don't hit daddy. And then they would like mock slap me. And I would go, no, you're making bad choices, Skylar. No. They absolutely loved it. And then I would be like, all right, back to dad now.
You got a real name.
Yeah.
And it's, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say so this is the first, I just noted the first story from the past that comes up, which is obviously, I assume this is another book. If not, what a crime. And I hope it's the next book. We mistakenly thought that Shelby might be the mother of the baby Harry found at Christmas, and well, long story short, we wanted to make it up to her. Wait, what?
Had the exact note. If this was not covered in a previous book, it's one of the most hilarious things I've ever read.
Please say that there is no other book about this and it's just an aside.
Well, Shelby gets her whole backstory covered in a sentence or two, and it sounds like it's also like worthy of a book itself. She had been working. Oh, she was working part-time at a salon while finishing up cosmetology school. She had come to Cutler over a year ago. It seemed that her mother and stepfather down south were using her as a free babysitter for her four younger siblings and as a free housemaid. So she's like on one of those scams where you've got someone who doesn't have a green card and you're sort of like keeping them in the basement and as a essentially as a slave. But then it says so her aunt and uncle rescued her, bringing her to Cutler to work in their shop, Danny's Donuts, and take care of their kids.
Yes, I didn't understand that. I was like, what is the rescue? Is that why it's in scare quotes? Because she isn't really rescued. She just like now
They trafficked her north.
she blows the hair out of her every day. Like, oh boy, I'm at the donut shop now. Thanks, aunt and uncle.
Real lateral move this rescue was. And then, if that's not enough, it says, to our surprise, we found that the chubby, sullen girl with the bad complexion and stringy hair wanted to be a beautician. So she's just, Shelby has led the roughest life imaginable, essentially Bleriana, or the woman from The Mister, and now she's just getting insulted because she's a uggo but wants to be a beautician.
It sounds like it's the solution to one of those little mysteries that are supposed to show your bias, like the beautician is a chubby sullen girl. Oh, that solves my issue there. I see.
Yeah. It's going to the barber with the bad haircut because the other barber in town cuts his hair.
That's right. So yes, she was a Cutler girl now enjoying a real rescue. So I didn't understand what the real rescue is. I guess working at the donut shop, but taking classes at the community college is a rescue.
I don't know. I do not know what a real rescue means.
Yeah.
So she does say, she gives you said, I'm not afraid of water, I'm afraid of drowning. And her husband, Gabe, humors her with a chuckle and says, so I gather you don't swim? So as you said, these are probably, I have to imagine they're older than 60 would be my guess. They appear to be retired, maybe 70.
Yeah.
What would you say if you went in and told Bridget you couldn't swim and she reacted with surprise there? You've been
Uh,
married for 30 years, right?
yeah,
Like,
that's one of those things. Like, this didn't come up before.
this comes as news to you. You've always
Yeah,
made excuses for not wanting to go to the pool or something.
I guess you could do it a long time. People live secret lives. Hers was to not show her cards that she couldn't swim. Here's another one of the backstory things. Sarah had taken a special interest in her and was providing free room and board at the large Victorian where she had been living alone since the death of her twin sister Harriet last year. Again, if that's not covered in a book in the past, so great.
Yeah, I guess Harriet probably isn't one of the teens that overdosed on X bars, but that would be a nice touch.
I do have to confess right now, I did not check characters, who they were, or character count, and I don't remember from the last time we read a Quilter book, so I'm sorry. I don't know who these people are.
The last time we read a Quilter book, we did a character count, and it was,
Yes.
this book is 29,000 words. I believe there was over 120 characters. Because they had town meetings where, like, people just kept making public comment about stuff, so it ratcheted up really quickly. It was like Springfield. You got every single character in town at the meeting.
Yes. Character count soars here with Judy grinned at Shelby, who was about the same age as her boy Tommy. So that's just throwing characters at you. Deal with these guys. And that's chapter 1, right?
All right. Well, the chapter 1 ends with the transition is quite something. So let me read how
Okay.
chapter 1 ends with Gabe, and then you can read the first sentence of the next chapter, okay? He
Okay.
reached over and patted my hand. There will be other road trips with the Quilters, honey. You don't have to go.
And then, well, I wish we could flip the frame on the video and do the doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle.
Oh.
You have to go, Diane, my BFF, yelled at me over the phone.
She does a literary Gilligan's Island smash cut.
She very much does. Smash cut. I won't do it. I won't do it. Cut to her dressed as with a mop on her head, and yes.
And so Diane is her sassy BFF who is not a quilter, but is
Diane, I
desperate
just
to.
want to drill that home. Diane, her best friend, yelling at her on the phone. Diane, right?
Yes. But Diane is desperate to go on this cruise because I guess she really needs a vacation because she's a high school teacher and their kids are such a handful. She
And
says in all caps, "I need a vacation."
and of course, the question from Miranda is, well, what about your husband, Mark? And then she lowered her voice. I assume she'd been yelling the whole time. A vacation with Mark is like being at home, but with a camera and a sunburn. It's just not exciting. Like off-screen, Mark is like, "Honey, who you talking to over there? What the hell, man?"
Your voice
Mark's
got
like
really low, and
ripped as Hot Frosty. He's got just a snap towel on around it. Like, what do I have to do, man?
right, he's enjoying like birding or volunteering somewhere. Like, I'm sorry, do you need me to traffic some X bars up and down the freeway to add some spice to our relationship?
He's gutting a tuna in their kitchen island, like with his shirt off. Like, what the hell, man? I got this deep sea fishing when we went on vacation.
So yeah, she's desperate to leave her sad sack of a husband behind. And speaking of sad sacks of husband, she mentions that her cat bears the same name as her husband Harry. So she has a cat named Harry, and her first husband was Harry. Shortly after my Harry was killed in a hunting accident, this large gray and white cat showed up at the back door and scratched to be let in. When I opened it, he winked at me, walked in, and made himself comfortable in Harry's recliner. I realize it's probably silly, but I always felt my Harry sent him along to keep me company or to convey his opinions, which I could frequently live without. So even the dead husband is catching strays here.
Well, I mean, that's as close as you can get to. This is my reincarnated husband who had his head blown off in a hunting. I'm assuming that he had his
Yes.
head
Oh,
blown off.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's reincarnated because the cat does stuff like, "Oh boy, here we go again." The cat is like a Flintstones, it's a living, right? It like
Yeah,
shrugs and walks out and stuff, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna go on a cruise, okay, and then it leaves.
yeah, he comes back with a life jacket in his teeth, like you're gonna need this.
And then to talk her into it, all right, this is where I should raise this issue that it just bugged the hell out of me.
Okay.
Diane's nickname, which just comes out of nowhere, we suddenly just start calling her D. D-E-E. How do you get that from Diane? Is it not
Well,
Di? If she's just started calling her Di, I'd be like, who's Di? Oh, Diane, of course. But, you know, in the middle of all of this, just listen, D. And then she says, from what I heard, there are stops like every other day for shopping and sightseeing and stuff. She's heard about what cruise ships do? Who's talking about this?
word on the street.
You know, I've got this group of people. We talk and whisper and gossip about cruise ships. We heard they stop at ports. What? You heard?
I've heard they often provide food for the customers on board. You don't have to bring your own.
I've heard there's a gangplank you go up. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, so there is the most famous Diane in the world was nicknamed Di, and so that's a common association. But this is like my friend Derek, who back in the days of IM, how everyone communicated of my generation in high school and college, he made his IM name Big D Nookie because he was a Limp Bizkit fan. So, you know, abbreviating Derek is D, Diane is D. I suppose it works that way. But it wasn't DEE. It was just Big D Nookie.
Yeah. Okay. I'll allow that. It's kind of like, you know, your name is John, and so your nickname is Jack. Like, oh boy,
Oh, well.
what? How? Or I also find the one Maureen, so we'll call you Mo.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. But whatever.
All right,
Okay,
putting
so D it is.
colloquial nicknames on blast here.
I am.
And that is that. Okay, it's annoying. It's not the most insane name-related thing that happens in this book. So we'll put a pin in that and come back to it.
Not even close. That
She says so. She's discussing with Gabe, like you know, whatever you do, you don't have to do anything just because Dee says you want to. You be comfortable. Gabe is reassuring and hot. So, but then it says later that night we had dinner and played Jeopardy with Harry. Which, if you read the last book and know what Jeopardy is a stand-in for here, that kind of gets a big whoa from me.
I think every time, right? I believe it's
It did
Jeopardy
seem to
and
be that
chill,
way.
right? Yes.
Whew.
But
I guess
Gabe
the cat
does
sometimes
say
participates.
Gabe does also does a side swipe. So Diane and Mark, like, I'm wary of these people. D and Mark. Gabe says, right? Why would she do that? They all know what Diane's like. I cannot wait to meet this gargoyle of a human being who everyone loathes.
Right. I guess Miranda is Diane's in to the quilting community.
Yes.
So like if she just showed up at the cruise, they'd be like, oh God, like
Yeah, she's not a quilter. But I don't think that's where their hate comes from. I think the quilting club probably likes non-quilters, right? Or is it
Right.
all in or all out? Like, they're just like extremely racist quilters against anyone who's not a quilter.
yeah, you pick up a long arm or you get the hell out of here.
Yes.
But I think your distaste for Diane does pay off later as well.
Okay, good.
So this chapter ends with still no cruising. She's still like lamenting her fears and what she has to do. Chapter 3 begins with her reiterating that she has a job as a head librarian at the Cutler Library. And she goes to work and meets Lucy and also talks about how she's nervous about this cruise. So anyone who interacts with her is getting their ear chewed off about this voluntary vacation that probably costs thousands of dollars that she's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it.
Yeah, so also Lucy comes in, I assume wearing a sweater. She does talk about her like sipping her coffee. So I assume her too large sweater is kind of looped slightly over her hands as she holds her mug up. and
Does say she's clutching it.
yes, and asks her what's the problem. And then she says, oh, she explains it and says that Dee wanted to go. And Lucy replies, oh boy, Diane wants to go? Ugh.
You're coming back in a body bag.
Oh, she tiptoes back out of the office. So yeah, just a horrible person.
She puts her head back in. But Mark's not going, is she? Oh, God, thank God. Oh, my, I almost fell asleep right now. They discuss, all that, and then they decide that they're going to have lunch. And Miranda asks to order pizza because they haven't had that in a while.
Mm-hmm.
The pizza showed up in 20 minutes, parentheses, benefits of a small town. I just, it's incredible to me. That does sound like a great small town benefit. The pizza cooked and was delivered to them in 20 minutes. That's outrageous.
I feel like the last time I was in a small town, we had a large struggle to get a pizza over to our hotel. Where they're like, I don't think Dave's here, so it's going to be a while. It was that kind of a thing. Like, well, is there another place in town? Is that, no, but we're going to close in 10. It was that kind of a thing. Like, we just want a pizza.
You check into the hotel and you're like, all right, how late is the restaurant open? They're like, it's open till 10. You're like, really? And you're like, you go to the restaurant and then the same person who checked you in like dashes over there putting on the apron. Like, all right, what is it going to be?
Takes 2 chairs down that were already up. Like, oh, this is so inviting. Thank you. So she tells her to go to, I think this is Lucy, as they chow down on pizza, which the food starts to tumble in her stomach. Just put a pin in that. That comes up. That comes up later. She said, you should go to therapy for this water thing. She said, well, my mom went to see a therapist to overcome. Well, never mind. But he was really nice. It seemed to help. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So cruel.
Yeah.
You can't just say that. It's like when someone goes like, you're talking about something slightly spicy and they go like, I got something to tell you. No, I can't say it. Like, yeah, it's too late, man. You gotta say it.
Was her elderly mom checking into hourly rate motels and stuff? Like, what are you trying to overcome here that you can't mention to someone who you're encouraging to take therapy?
Never mind. My mom was, let's just say the popper habit got, it was, look, I can't go into it.
Yeah, she would go down under the bridge on Saturday night.
Yeah, we were pulling out of hotel rooms that you wouldn't even, my God.
It's not worth getting into.
The guns pulled on me. Anyway, I cannot talk about it.
The FBI came and seized your computer, but you don't want to have to get into any of that stuff that Mom was into. When she's doing this, she's talking about like this water issue. It's not like skydiving or cliff jumping or swimming with the sharks, and it really did sort of read like the author was trying to work some stuff out as they were doing this. Like just trying to be like the Robin Williams Good Will Hunting. Like it's all right. Like it's all right, my sister who I'm writing this book with.
Yes. So that's a whole chapter of just her eating pizza with her assistant at the library. I guess does that qualify as cozy pizza at the library?
It's at the library. She was also shredding documents. I don't know. It's not, it hasn't been that cozy right now. And I don't know what time of year it is either.
It's getting close to like the Clue solution, in the library with a pizza, Mr. Plum. So then she talks her into going to therapy for her water thing. And that's pretty much the chapter. Oh, I'm sorry. Gabe does make her laugh at the end. I'm sorry.
He does make her laugh, and he makes her laugh thusly. He is encouraging her to go to therapy because he's a great husband. But he took my hand across the table and squeezed it. You shall remain a mysterious but lovely and beguiling creature to me. One thing I love about Gabe is his ability to make me laugh. And I thought, like, maybe those sentences are completely unrelated, because obviously that sounds like a online Milady Fedora guy, like that clearly couldn't make anyone laugh, or it would make people feel off-put and want to leave the room. But so maybe it's just she just mentions those two things without any relationship to each other.
It reminded me of a time there was I worked with a guy when I was at TGI Fridays years ago.
Nice.
Everyone's like in their mid-20s, right? It's just like we're all trying to do something else. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, Mike? Well, I'm obviously not here. Like, this is not a stopover. But there was a dude who was a little bit older. He was a concert pianist. He was a little bit down on his luck. He couldn't get into the orchestra, so he took a job at the TGI Fridays. And he kind of had a voice that wasn't really, kind of a little bit of a weenie voice. But one time I was walking by with like a full tray, and he was next to a two-top and there were two women at it, and he was kneeled all the way down, and he was going, "Happy birthday to you." And the woman's face she was frozen in terror, like looking at her friend, like, what is happening? Please make this stop. And I stopped with my tray and just looked down for a second. I was like, oh my God. And he said, and I asked him later, I'm like, was that something they asked for? He was like, no, it's just a service I provide.
Oh my God. A tip of the
Are there negative tips? Can I take money out of your apron?
I've always been beguiled by the female of the species.
Yes, so that was Gabe. But also, if he was being sincere, like, taking her hand and squeezing it, you're just a lovely creature.
All right. Well, I was trying to cheer you up based on this phobia and your inability to swim, which you never told me about despite our decades of marriage. So I guess I'm going to go sleep on the couch if you're going to laugh at this.
Gonna turn on Jeopardy and cover myself with a blanket, if that's all right with you.
Well, Chapter 4, she's feeling a bit more chipper because she has gotten an appointment with Dr. Jonathan Locke. So I don't know if this is a reference to the what was John Locke?
John Locke, the Enlightenment
philosopher.
Philosopher, yes, very
also
hugely influential to the founding fathers of our nation. John Locke, well-known name. It's spelled the same.
Yeah. Where if you use a name like this, you're assuming people will know that. They could also be thinking you might know of the very prominent character on the most popular TV show of the aughts, Lost. There was a John Locke, which was obviously an allusion to the John Locke. So not a name you use unintentionally.
Yes, clearly the author knows the purpose, and so Jonathan Locke is cemented in my mind. Okay, that's going to be interesting when she meets with Dr. John Locke.
Sure.
But then she put off calling Myrtle Jeffers. I'm trying to roll that around like Myrtle Jeffers. Don't know who that is. But
I speculated that there's an author named Myrtle Jeffers on Amazon who wrote 73 Cozy Mysteries last year alone.
Okay.
I guess just that kind of name.
It probably is it. We also once again had to call John Kane to remind them that he had to bring his overdue. John felt that as a taxpayer. So John Kane, I'm thinking John Maynard Keynes. It's not spelled the same way.
Sure.
So we have John Locke. We have John Maynard Keynes are being name checked here for what reason? I don't know. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to put the little pin in that one and we'll move on.
It's like if there's just some people that you trust where if something happens, it's not a mistake. Like if you listen to a Bob Dylan song, you're like, this guy, what he's doing is intentional here, and it may be inscrutable only to him, but nothing is accidental type of thing, And I feel like the Devlin sisters have ascended to that level of status in my esteem. No accidents.
Right. I was watching a show. I hesitate to recommend it because it's quite violent, but Gangs of London. Have you ever heard of that? It's well done. It's sort of like a Breaking Bad kind of done in. But anyway, there was a long scene where a guy who was in Jeopardy starts making a sandwich, and they make a point of like focusing on the knife that he's using to make his sandwich, to cut his sandwich. And then like 10 minutes later, of course, that becomes a big thing. And I'm like, that's obviously not an accident to show what knife he's going to cut his sandwich with. So John Locke and John Maynard Keynes are referenced here. So
and I do want to point out that John felt John Kane felt as a taxpayer he could keep them as long as I damn well please. Thank you. So
He's
again,
one of
like
those guys.
more
I
of this
pay
guy,
your
John the
salary.
sovereign citizen.
Yes.
He has plates that identify him as that, so he can speed because he doesn't observe the Cutler PA's city council.
Oh, upside down flag, all of that. Okay.
Oh yeah, a maritime flag guy, perhaps.
Yes. So they go
And here we
to
go.
they go to Sylvia's, which is a lunch place, right? We've had Sylvia's was in the last one, I think.
That's where her and Dee meet every week to discuss, what's going on.
Yes. So this was I think this, I don't know, this vexed me so much that I believe
You had to go for a long walk after this part.
messaged Conor about this. They go to Sylvia's, which they always do. I got there early and ordered us 2 iced teas. Here we go. Sylvia's been jazzing things up a bit, and today she was offering a special. So this is jazzed up. A chopped salad with chicken, bacon, avocado, and other yummy things served with a dipping sauce. All right. What in the... Has anyone ever heard? Like, I could be 1,000% wrong. Maybe this is a regional thing. Maybe this is very common. I don't know. Maybe this is like, what is that? Banoffee pie or whatever?
Yeah, banoffee pie.
Banoffee pie, sorry.
Or in the last book, the sauerkraut and pork on New Year's Day.
Yes. Very much a
But-
thing.
But
Is a
this is
chopped salad with chicken, bacon, avocado, and other yummy things ever served with a dipping sauce?
there's a recent meme going around that I had to look up what it was, but I think it's from Inglorious Bastards, where a character, he's undercover or something, but he tips himself off by holding up 3 fingers like this, his, pinky, ring and middle finger, and the other guy realizes based on that he wouldn't, that type of thing. And this is like, if this is an alien who has come down to Cutler, PA, and is trying to like pose as a local diner owner to ingratiate them, and it's like they're 90% of the way there, but then then they're like, and here's your dipping sauce on the salad, and you're like, you pull out the gun, blam! It was an alien. Like, how'd you know? Well,
Yes. It was the, chatting with a Turing test thing, and then suddenly
Yep.
can't wait to get that yummy chopped salad with the dipping sauce. Like, all right, you
pull
failed.
the plug. Yep, ChatGPT has failed here. But you also pointed out that it was with the way that she's jazzed things up by serving what sounds like a fairly typical like Cobb salad or something.
Yes.
Was chicken, bacon, avocado, and other yummy things.
Oh, shades of, what is it, Johnny Longbow there? Oh, Johnny Longbow, what's your salad recipe? Bacon, avocado, chicken,
A
other
lot of
yummy
yummy
things.
You also said it was very much a Kleinian variety of 80s yummy things to Anyway, so that it also, if you're reading, the word special was in unnecessary quotes
was,
there, so it
yes.
does make it seem, oh, we're going to have this special.
All right, so she's eating her salads with dipping sauce and her 2 iced teas. And then Diane shows up. She's back to Diane. Don't know why. It just flips back and forth. Diane. And then they just have kind of a cozy talk about chopped salad orders, right?
Diane is sort of thrown for a loop because Miranda has not already ordered the chopped salad when she sits down, and she's like, "It's Tuesday. That's chopped salad special day. It's been jazzed up. What the hell are you thinking? Like, if we don't keep ordering these, she's going to go back to the pre-jazzed up menu, which is like, an airline chicken breast in a gravy sauce or something. a hard roll. Come on."
Well,
But then
I will allow for the fact that maybe dipping sauce is what they call it somewhere else. It's kind of like the whole, East Coast thing of tomato sauce for spaghetti is called gravy, which is completely different than anywhere else.
It's like
on
an
the
Italian
planet.
thing. Yeah.
Yes.
But based on the amount of people who wrote in for this sentence, everyone was thrown for a loop by the dipping sauce.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not
Dipping sauce
alone.
is what you get with like chicken tenders or a churro, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So,
Something that you actually dip. I can't. I suppose someone could take a chopped salad and dip each piece. I wouldn't want to see it. I don't want to be anywhere within the range of seeing someone do that, but I suppose it's possible.
yeah, but that
Anyway,
would be the thing you do. You get a skewer and then you dip it in, but it's not how that's done.
no,
Like you don't
of
need to
course not.
deconstruct the salad. But then, so you were curious about how toxic of a person Diane/D is.
Yes.
She has this interaction with
Oh, yes.
Sylvia, who's the owner of the restaurant they come to every single Tuesday. Sylvia plopped the two salads in sauce cups in front of us, so doubling down.
Hmm.
Anything else? She eyed Dee suspiciously. Dee gave her a lovely smile. No thanks, honey. We'll pick up the complimentary antacids on our way out. Sylvia stalked off.
So everybody in this book are a bunch of a-holes. They're all like very bitter. And then Dee's smile turned to a wicked grin, which I was just picturing the Grinch, as he
Oh yeah.
just curling up into a thing. Gross.
So she and Sylvia have been going at each other for years. No reason they both enjoyed it, as far as I could tell. Sylvia is clearly spitting in the dipping sauce. Like, come on. Dee is like, yeah, I just wander into this hog trough so you can serve me this slop every Tuesday, and
Why do you come here?
I'm going to turn you into the health inspector the first chance I get. Like, I've been saving all the hair I find in this salad. I'm going to knit a sweater out of it later.
And then, Sylvia hands her change or she hands her the bill and then she goes, change? Yeah. Yeah, I want change, Sylvia. Every penny.
Yeah, got to go buy some anti-diarrhea meds, so I need all the change I can get.
Every week I put up with this. Why? So then she talks her into so D/Diane talked her into swimming lessons. And this is how it's done. And again, I'm not tracking the characters. I refuse to look back and learn who these are. This is, I believe we're quoting D here. I was talking to Ethan. He's on the swim team at Penn, and the idea came to me. He won't be home for a couple of weeks, but his friend Felix is a great guy, and I'm sure he could teach you. Why did we need to mention Ethan? Ethan sparked the idea of, the idea of swimming is something that had to be sparked by thinking about a guy named Ethan who's on the swim team at Penn? What is wrong with your brain?
Right. There's a Y in town. Why don't you go take swim lessons there? They obviously have them. This is the only mention of Ethan in the book. I have to assume it's Dee's son, Dee and Mark's son.
Oh,
Otherwise, she's talking to random college students on the Penn swim team.
I don't know. I have no idea.
But yeah, so his friend Felix is a great guy, and he is sure to teach you. So I guess they've got the standard Hallmark hunky pool boy who's going to be able to give her some lessons here.
This put me in mind of, this is a very obscure thing, but there's a famous Frank Sinatra song where for some reason, they left the beginning in where he instructs the band. He's obviously in studio. The band is live. I think they used to record everything in the studio, right? So he's at the mic and you hear Sinatra and he goes, the whole thing should be kind of light until it gets to the chorus and then the string should come in, and he does this long instruction and then there's dead silence and he goes, Felix? So obviously there's some guy named Felix in the studio with Frank Sinatra, like over there with a sandwich, like, God, this is really good. I could use a dipping sauce on the Felix. Oh, what? Sorry, Mr. Sinatra, were you?
Felix, have you brought enough for the whole class?
Just a weird thing. Like, I don't know why they included it, and then the song starts and you forget all about it.
The Felix cut, probably. That's
Yes.
Do we get Felix in the next one? I hope so, because Felix does turn out to be a delightful character.
Felix is a character in this, yes.
Oh yeah, she does go. So chapter 5, she is off to the swim lesson, where Gabe is sort of teasing her with a twinkle in his eye. And then she puts on her swim cap, goggles, a bathing suit that seemed smaller than I remembered, And then I looked like an alien in the mirrored wall as I entered the pool area. Why on earth would you put a mirrored wall there? So they do sort of keep emphasizing that this that Miranda is like, you know, not a svelte person. She has trouble fitting into the bathrooms and the thing. Her bathing suit has gotten smaller. So this is the nice little relatable cozy mystery heroine here.
And I hate to say it, have we yet pegged any kind of age on this thing? Do we just assume the same age as the authors? I don't want to make any assumptions.
Yeah, if you look them up, I think they're even in the doc. There's a picture of them. And,
Yes,
you know,
there is.
yeah, I think they're at least 60. It's my guess.
Yeah.
They're both retired, so like, you know, you have to assume that.
Now, this struck me. This is something I probably only learned within the last 10 years. Oh, it says two things struck me at once.
Okay.
I didn't mean to echo what they said in the book. The overwhelming smell of chlorine and the hot dampness of the air. Now, I happen to know this is fact. If you're smelling chlorine, that means someone recently peed in the pool. It's only smells of chlorine when it's actually killing some biological.
No, it like activates it.
It activates it. Otherwise, you should not be smelling chlorine. So when you go to like a hotel pool and you smell chlorine, don't go into that pool. It's very true. Look it up. It's
Wow.
You should
Well,
not
I mean,
be
my money
smelling
is on 6-year-old Jackson Bartlett,
it. Yes.
who swims over to the edge of the pool and says, "Is that you, Aunt Miranda? Come on in. It's fun." Bartlett yelled loud enough that I'm sure the woman at the front desk heard him. And multiple people in this pool call her Aunt Miranda. Oh no, I guess that's just Jackson. Sorry, no, Jackson and his daughter Samantha. I don't know who they are.
Well, it's supposed to be made clearer when I believe the third John shows up, who is the husband of Brittany? Brittany's husband,
Yes.
John. So is that John Kane? John Locke? I think it's a third John.
I don't think it's John Kane, the sovereign citizen who won't return his library books and tells her to kiss his ass when she says to
don't know.
bring him back.
Maybe she's got on 1-to-1. He's a really appealing guy who brings his kids to the pool. And,
Yeah.
hey, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry I sent you that envelope full of powder that was. Sorry about that. That's no problem, John. Auntie.
Jackson Bartlett has his own wing of the shed he lives in behind the mechanics thing that he's squatting in, claiming it as his own sovereign territory.
Yeah, I carve decorative boxes in here and send things to people who are advancing technology. Hey, you guys want to go to the pool?
Yeah, but no famous philosopher last name for this one. Although I guess maybe it's John Bartlett if he's with if it's Jackson Bartlett and Miranda. So that must be it. Is John Bartlett a
boy.
Renaissance thinker or something?
I don't know. I forgot to track that one. Yeah, John.
No accidents. So here we go. She meets Felix, the friend of Ethan, who's going to give her swim lessons.
Yes.
Here is how Ethan greets our main character. I took a breath and looked around. A tall, thin, college-age guy stepped out of the dressing room door. "Mrs. Downing?" I nodded. Just to reiterate, the full title of the book is The Quilting Cruise, Miranda Hathaway Adventure Number 9, Miranda Hathaway Adventures.
Wow.
The text of the book, back of the book, A Cruise for Quilters. Who could have thought of such a thing? Not Miranda Hathaway.
That is, wow. Okay. I did not notice that one.
Okay, I did some research. Gabe's last name is Gabe Downing. I don't know when she changed this. I don't know if they started the series with her husband getting shot and then she met Gabe and married him and then took her name, but they didn't think that far enough ahead that they're all still called Miranda Hathaway Adventures. If you've read these books, please weigh in on what's going on here because it seems very needlessly confusing.
Wow. She also says about herself here. Sorry, I'm just finding it. Here we go. I swallowed hard. I'm an idiot, but there was no need for further humiliation. Of course I know that. I just want to spend a little time around water. Okay, so she's an idiot. Earlier she said she's near death. Like, what? Who are these people?
Well, she says, "I'm an idiot," based on him saying, "Don't worry about drowning." if you fall off a cruise ship, you'll be dead when you hit that water. It would be like hitting concrete after falling off a 100-foot building. So he thinks that's him humiliating her by informing her of that fact.
I mean, I suppose if at the last second she like, tucked and went pointed feet first and just slipped into the water, she could survive it, right?
Sure, like those Olympic divers that make
Yeah.
a little like dainty splash, and the announcer's like, "Oh, that's going to cost them." The water sprayed up 2 centimeters. That is just awful.
Okay, what
Might
an
as well.
idiot. All right.
But yeah, so her opinion of Felix is informed by Lord knows what. Because he's in there, he's helping her float on her back. He gives her a big thumbs up. He wasn't fooling me. I could hear his nasty little mental wheels spinning. How he was going to tell his friends about the old lady who thought she could learn to swim in 1 or 2, 3 easy lessons. She seems exceedingly judgmental based on this person who is maybe taking a gap year, teaching people to swim at the Y, helping people out, doing Ethan a favor. And she's just like, what a nasty boy.
And then he says, yeah, and she continues with this. See you Wednesday, he said cheerfully and dove back into the pool, taking long strokes with his young, long arms. I kind of hated that kid. You do need therapy. There's something very wrong with you. Your personality is broken.
Yeah, I thought quilters were supposed to be gentle and community focused. She's her friend is insulting the cooking at the restaurant they always go to, and she's probably giving this guy $15 an hour for a lesson and then not even a tip.
So the chapter ends with more Felix hate. Again, just a guy. I mean, maybe he's got a little bit of that, church youth group energy or something where you're like, all right, settle down, buddy. We're just
Or maybe he's got like the haircut every high schooler that goes to the same gym as me has, where it's like the broccoli top, looks like Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I understand if she wants to punch that guy. Now I'm coming around to it, actually.
Wow, you hate Felix too. He punched me lightly in the arm. I'm not condoning that. I don't like when anyone, you ever get poked in the chest by someone and you just want to grab their finger and like snap it right off their hand? You got to be kidding me. You're not putting your finger. But she says, he punched me lightly in the arm. Just kidding. You really need to lighten up. You have no idea how badly I wanted to punch him back. How badly? Why not do it? The book would take a turn.
If it took a turn and the rest of the book was her like figuring out a way to poison Felix or something, or just conduct a reign of terror on him, would be just amazing.
Yeah. Gabe showing up, at his eyes down at the jail, like, Miranda, you can't keep doing this to swim coaches, man. Did you see his arms? I know. You keep saying that about his young, long arms. They don't make me hate him. I don't know what to tell you, Miranda.
Well, no matter what, just bail me out and we can talk this over at Sylvia's. I'm not bailing you out, Miranda. You have to spend a night in jail. You've got to learn a lesson. Gabe.
Tough love, Miranda. Tough love. Gabe.
She also describes she walks out of the locker room onto the pool deck. She waits for Felix, and then he says, "Hey, look at you," he said in that fake, cheerful, condescending voice. What do you want the 21-year-old to address you like, Miss 67-year-old quilter? Like, you think he's actually happy to be doing this?
Right. He's teaching at the Y.
It is. It's camp counselor energy. We all know that's how they do it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe she needs to quilt something. That seems to be absent for the first 5 chapters to unleash some of this ball of rage that she's gotten herself into.
Chapter 5, and we're still that was the end of chapter 5, and we haven't gotten anywhere near a cruise. We haven't gotten anywhere near quilting. So I'm just pointing that out. Time is passing here, people.
No quilting, no cruise, and no crime. For the mystery.
I hate to invite it myself, but should we do real or fanfic?
I think we should. We're a little more than halfway, and we have some great stuff coming in this next chapter. But yes, let's get ahead of and do some real or fanfic, head-to-head style.
Fanfic. Real, fanfic, real, fanfic, 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 real. Fanfic,
All right, so this is head-to-head, real or fanfic. We have had our beloved jackals at patreon.com/372 pages send in passages that are either from later in the Quilting Cruise. It's a short one, or it is fanfic that they have written in the style of the Devlin sisters to try to fool us. And our listeners Josh and Colette have done the great service of compiling and then narrating these for us so that we can both guess which these are going to be. And you are welcome to play along at home as well. And you should also check out the Patreon because we have done some fun stuff. We did a Encyclopedia Brown mystery that Josh Frulinger, the comics curmudgeon, tried to help us solve. I believe unsuccessfully. That one was it was a toilet paper focused mystery.
Oh yes, yeah, because it hinged on hard toilet paper, a thing that neither of us. So. A child's mystery, he collects toilet paper, and one of his prized
pre-war
possessions is
English toilet paper. It doesn't come up in cozies very often. But,
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to have 5 potential real or potential fanfics here. We will guess after each one of them. Are you ready?
Yes.
Number 1. Mrs. Downing, my name is Agent Wallace, she said, finally dropping the facade. I must say you're not what I was expecting. Say hi to Gabe for me when you next see him. Carla Wallace was the junior agent he mentored in his final days before retirement, after his old partner Norm Benson was killed in action. What's the FBI doing on a quilting cruise? Do you remember the drug ring you took down a few years ago when they were pushing their drugs in Cutler? She asked. Of course I did. It was hard to forget the horrors of when the drug epidemic hit our small town. I thanked my lucky stars Shelby wasn't in town then, or else she might have been swept up in it too. I nodded at Agent Wallace. The higher-ups of the drug ring know the Cutler Quilting Guild was the reason they were caught. They've got people on board this ship, and they're coming after you. Miranda, none of you are safe.
Okay.
All right. On the count of 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Fanfic.
All right.
Okay.
I'll keep the notes here. Number 2.
Number 2. The tall buildings of the Atlantic Resort off to the left towered over the gorgeous setting. I had been surprised to read that there were almost 250,000 people in Nassau. As we disembarked, we were faced with racks of scooters and rows of taxis. Suddenly, Dee grabbed my arm. I followed the direction of her gaze and saw Mike Lambert renting a scooter. As soon as he took off, Dee raced toward a taxi. She jumped in and I followed, not having much choice, and she had me by the arm. "Follow that scooter," she ordered. The driver smiled a toothy grin that lit up his face. "I wait a long time for this." Number 3.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Real. Okay.
Oh boy. Either way, we live or die together so far.
Number 3.
Gabe and I talked on the phone for half an hour. I'm not embarrassed to say we mostly talked about Harry. He had been eating less and less food and wasn't his usual spry self. Try giving him the fancy feast, not that cheap off-brand stuff, I suggested. I have been, Gabe said, but he still only eats a few bites. I sighed and took another sip from my tea mug. Maybe try to make sure he gets enough time outside. Suddenly, Queenie burst into the room. Dee shot up from the bed. "You should come quick. Something's happened at the shuffleboard court."
Oh, this is tough. All right.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Fanfic.
Real.
Wow.
Yeah, I took a chance because we got a split. I don't actually believe it, but I gotta put some separation between us.
If you wouldn't put it past them, calling back from a vacation to have the dullest conversation in the world about your cat is not.
Well, there's some info about the cat that this is writing on that maybe, I don't know, who knows.
All right.
Number 4. I wish I brought more gear, Sarah replied thoughtfully. We all knew what she meant. Sarah's sister Harriet had put together quite a collection of stun guns and was not afraid to use them. In fact, she had once accidentally taken Sarah out with one. But it was rather surprising that Sarah had started carrying one with her. She swore she heard Harriet's voice in her head telling her which one would be needed. I knew she missed it, but was also grateful that she probably figured she couldn't get it through customs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, real.
Okay.
Well, did that come up in the last one, or was it also just a reminiscent of the stun gun incident?
I
feel like
don't remember.
I feel like they talked about one of them having a stun gun and stun gun.
I think they did, yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's the last one.
Number 5. Queenie came to a dead stop, looking across the ship's casino. "What are they doing here?" she asked in an irritated voice. "Who?" I asked, before my eyes found 3 familiar but not friendly faces. I saw it was Linda Harris, her sister Denise Peterson, and Riley Baker, all standing next to the roulette table. They were members of Cutler Quilt Guild No. 2, our hometown rivals. They hadn't yet seen us. Sarah piped in, "There are only so many quilting cruises. You can't expect them not to be on the same one we are."
Wow.
Oh, boy. Fascinating. Okay.
Yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Fanfic.
Okay. All right. We differed on 1. Butler Grilled No. 2. Come on. All right. Let's see if we were correct. For number 1, we both said fanfic.
Number 1. That's where the FBI agent tells Miranda that the drug ring has followed them aboard the cruise, and that was fanfic submitted by Phil.
All right. Well done,
Okay,
Phil.
good.
That would have been spectacular, but number 2, we both said real.
Number 2 involved the scooter chase after Mike Lambert, and that was real, submitted by Tyler.
Nice. I like that. I think every single one of them had a character we've never heard of's full name first and last.
Yes.
That's an authentic touch. Number 3, you said real, I said fanfic. This is going to separate us in this thing.
Yes.
Number 3 was the phone call between Miranda and Gabe talking about their cat, and that was fanfic written by Cameron.
I said it was fanfic, but I had to take it, It's like trying to...
You're doing that policy.
I'm pushing you off, like I'm risking the pass interference thing just to get a little separation, and I got called on pass interference.
All right, number 4, we both said real.
Number 4 was about the collection of stun guns Harriet had, and that was real, submitted by Claudine.
Right. Yeah, I just think that was something for the previous book. And number 5, we both said fanfic.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 involved the confrontation with the Cutler Quilt Guild No. 2, and that was fanfic written by Craig.
All right. Well,
yeah,
overall,
we can't both be perfect. I didn't want to be perfect. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's 80% is an improvement, I would say. Thank you for everyone who submitted those, and especially to Josh and Colette for their piling and narrating prowess. That is good stuff.
Very fun.
Let's do chapter 6, because chapter 6 is it's just really special.
Chapter 6. Oh, yes. Okay. Good Lord. This is where she goes into, she's trepidatious about going in to get therapy, right?
Yes.
So this is what she's nervous about. What if this person hypnotized me into thinking I was a chicken or something? I'd seen those shows. What if he convinced me to kill someone or rob a bank? I'd seen that on TV too. Oh, dear Lord, what if he accidentally brainwashed me into thinking I was an Olympic swimmer? I could dive without a care into the ship pool and, drown. You do not think this is how hypnotism works, do you? What is wrong with you?
I like that she says, what if he hypnotized me into thinking I was a chicken? I'd seen those shows. Do you think she's talking about the Homer at the Bat episode of The Chicken, where a hypnotist convinces Roger Clemens he's a chicken? Because that would be weirdly specific.
That's probably what the reference is. I mean,
and again,
if he kill someone,
if that's how the story went, she shot someone while robbing a bank. I think I would just be so happy. That's how this book played out.
Has the hypnotized defense ever worked for anyone? I mean, brainwashing. She does say accidentally brainwashed me,
Sure.
which doesn't that involve like, like waterboarding and no food
Yeah,
and
that's like
blasting music in? I don't know.
yeah. I don't think it's looking at someone in the eye and going doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle.
That would be
It's like,
weird if that's how it worked. I have never been hypnotized. Have you?
No, and
I've
I've seen
seen
the
people.
comedy hypnotists.
Yeah, I've seen comedy hypnotists, but I always feel like, I don't know, it's like a Ouija board. People are just kind of doing it, just kind of dicking around.
I think
Don't think you
100%.
could actually command them to, dive off and kill themselves into a ship pool. But I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe there's parts of hypnotism I don't understand. But it
And
does
look,
seem a
I mean,
little bit naive to say I've seen TV shows. What do you see, like Wonder Woman in the 80s or something? And there was like a nefarious hypnotist who she had to lasso.
The lasso can make you do things.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Listen, it's therapist Dr. John Locke. That name carries with it some powerful weight,
That's true.
historically and in fiction. So
It's
if
true.
he's able to do it, that would make sense why you named him Dr. John Locke. So, let's just not get ahead of ourselves.
That's true.
We also talked about
Yeah, go ahead.
the fact that she thumbs through a magazine from 2015 and noted how much older some movie stars have gotten in the last 5 years. So I mean, name names, you catty person, you
Well,
who's looking terrible.
I read it and immediately assumed that Nolte had to be in one of those magazines, I'm guessing. So she's like, geez.
Yeah, it's a therapist's office. They're known for old magazines. They could have had Sexiest Man Alive 1992 still in the stack. So
Let me page through this. It says, next page, pictures of Nick Nolte. Sexiest man alive. Hang on. Ah! Oh, dear God.
ah,
Dr. John Locke, Jonathan Locke, help me.
well, he does come. And speaking of aging celebrities, this one threw me for a loop because if this was in fanfic, I would have said fanfic 100 times out of 100.
Yes.
Finally, the inner door opened. Dr. Locke was a Judd Hirsch lookalike.
I do it on the side. What is the problem? Yes, I don't make much money. It doesn't, it barely pays my gas to get to the spot where people hire a Judd Hirsch lookalike.
It's so specific and weird. It made me happy.
With a kind, so this is, if you're wondering what Judd Hirsch looks like, if you're under the age of 70 and you're like, I don't know who Judd Hirsch is, well, here's what he looks like. A kind, trustworthy face, curly gray hair, with a little bald spot of a suitable age. So I think that has nailed Judd Hirsch. Judd, you could get our identikit out and draw a picture of Judd Hirsch from that description. That would be spot on.
That would be great. What did the guy who stole your purse look like? Well, he was a Judd Hirsch lookalike. Pause. Wait for the 32-year-old sketch artist to whip that up for you.
So all right, let's get to it. They start talking. It's normal stuff. Is there anything about coming to see me that makes you nervous or upset? He stared at me, gave me a big smile. That's not what I do, Mrs. Downing. Miranda Downing
Miranda
from
Hathaway.
the Miranda Hathaway Mysteries. Okay, I hesitated. You can call me Miranda. Okay. And then next quote, fine, thank you. And you can call me David. What? Full out spit take. Because there was such a big thing about going to see Dr. John Locke. You can call me David?
She doesn't question this. She doesn't say, but John, is that your middle name? It was John. It's pretty prominent. We all noted that. Even the people talking about this book noted it.
I made a note about it because your name is John Locke. Like John Locke. Hi, my name is Isaac Newton. You can call me Phil. Like, what? Why would I do that?
Maybe it is a office-based Michael Bolton situation where he's just fed up with people like doing the knowing, John Locke. So he goes by, he just picked another name. Or much more likely, the authors forgot what they were doing between chapters. Do you think it is two sisters writing it? Do they hand them off like we did with the Nolte book? Just let one write the next one, one after the other?
It could be, but yeah, let's go with Occam's razor here. And speaking of him, hi, I'm William of Occam, but you can call me Ted. Oh, come on now.
Or the Room, remember? He just recast Peter the psychologist halfway through the thing and told the guy like, now you are Stephen. You were Peter and that was a different guy, but now you're Stephen. And the guy's like, I'm just here because I get a free lunch.
Right.
No one's clearly going to be watching this movie in 20 years.
There's a craft services table just off there, and I can barely afford chicken wings, so this is great.
So Dr. John Locke, a.k.a. David, tells her that she's going to do some desensitization therapy. She likes this. She's like, this is great. Maybe you should spend some time in a day spa with a hot tub, anything that just makes this less scary for you. And she then says, as you might expect, he asked about any water-related incidents in my childhood that I don't think it's necessary to go into here. I have to admit, it did give me a better understanding of where my water phobia came from.
So every time the fear thing, which is brought up with Lucy's mother and now her, just like, yeah, but don't worry about it.
Sure.
That's
I
the
did
most
drown another
interesting
kid in the
thing
pool,
here.
playing water polo as a kid. But we don't need to get into that.
Yeah, since it was Judd Hirsch, it made me think of, he played the psychiatrist in Ordinary People, famously, right? About the two brothers and one drowned in a storm. The favorite brother drowned, and then the younger one has to survive and somehow make it through with his family, clearly blames him and everything. So I thought, is that it?
Oh, man.
Is that a weird reference to the 1982 movie Ordinary People?
They knew what they were doing with John Locke. I'm sure that's not a coincidence either. No accidents in a Devlin Sisters book.
Oh, anyway, that's very strange to mention the severe trauma of two women, presumably the same age women, who, my fear is, I went on a killing spree and I served my time. I'm out. But I can't get a job and I really need some therapy. And hers is something with water. Good
I would
Lord.
adopt, pets from the SPCA. I would bring them home and just drown them in a bucket. And sometimes they'd claw at my arms. And so I think that's where this trauma came from, with the fear of those scratches again. You've helped me unlock that, Doc. Thank you.
Yeah, we're near the screaming of the lambs. Do you hear the screaming of the lambs, Miranda? We're near that moment and they just pass right over it.
Especially because it's been the focus of the whole thing. We've not gone on the cruise yet. We've not done any quilting. It's been the therapy thing. And oh well. So he ends up saying, like, hey, what you should do is research this boat they want you to go on. Like, find out, like when you sit down on a plane, you're like, look at the emergency exits. It's like, find out where they have lifeboats. Find out how many rooms there are. The more information you have, the more you'll feel at home. And it's like, sounds good. That's all it takes.
And then the chapter ends with, thank you, David, which she has to be going like, David, right?
It was David. I'm looking at your diploma over your shoulder that says Jonathan Locke.
Jonathan Locke. Okay. Are you here to... And then he, pulls out a big syringe. Now I think it's time to... Oh, I get this now. What a relief. I loved this guy. So, have you met my son Felix? God, son of a...
Felix Locke, right. Damn it. I think it's clearly ageism at play here. She just hates she hates the youngsters.
That's true.
She that woman who was chubby and had stringy hair, she was like, and she wants to be a beautician. Can you even imagine the nerve? And Felix is, walking out, buff and happy, putting himself through school. Oh my God, I wanted to punch him. Miranda. Judd Hirsch walks out. I love him. He helped me get over my phobia.
Miranda's doing shots of dipping sauce. Look at those thin arms. All right.
I'm glad we built up that enough to hopefully be a nice surprise for anyone who wasn't reading along with us. 'Cause a lot of readers did notice that as well. So what a delight.
Okay.
Cut ahead to chapter 7, where it's she's off. Gabe is
Finally.
like, "You're gonna have fun, right?" Like he takes her to the airport.
And he says this, which is, I don't know. You've had cats, right? Or do you currently have a cat?
I had a cat got him in college, had him for about 20 years. Do not have a cat anymore.
Okay, so he's saying to her, like, I think, she's like, are you going to be okay? Blah, blah, blah. I got this covered. Not sure I'll get much of that. I have a feeling Harry's going to be a nightmare. Are cats, do they turn into a nightmare? Like, I mean, I assume if they have, like, leukemia or something, right? You got to, like, put pills in their anuses or something. I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I've never had a cat.
Do not call Mike for cat sitting. It's
I was freelancing there. Sorry, man. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, sometimes you have to like wrap it up in cheese and like do the rub the throat to get him to take it kind of thing.
Okay. So
don't rub it if you're putting it in the other part.
Okay.
I think that the cats are, if they're a nightmare in general, they're probably going to be a nightmare when one person leaves, regardless of who that might be. So, but then again, if her husband is, if it's a reincarnated husband as the cat, he might be like, "All right, you interloper."
Well, maybe he's just to be a jerk. He's like dressed up as like Puss in Boots, and standing there with a sword and like giant boots on, and like, now go ahead, I got this covered. And he's like, I don't know about this character when you leave.
As long as you feed him the good fancy feast. I know that was fan fiction. Oh well. So it. I don't know how many swim lessons she's been on. I don't know how many other therapy sessions, but I guess she's conquered the fear. She's ready to go. She's on the plane, and she says, "I had several books on my Kindle, a bit of hand sewing. Although looking around at my fellow guild members, I could have borrowed anything from a paperback to a quilt-as-you-go square to a Sudoku puzzle book with no problem. Overall, I find that quilters simply don't waste time, idle hands, and all that." So I want to just keep track of any other quilting stereotypes that stack up as we go here. I also like that.
Don't waste time. So Sudoku puzzles. What are they doing for people? How are they helping?
That's that's bettering yourself right there. It's like the most idle pastime imaginable.
Also, come on, the quilters on a plane. Like we've probably sat next to a quilter where you have to do the. I always bring. I actually wear them all the time, but earplugs. So then I have them in when I get on board, so that then if you sit next to a quilter and they're like, "Where are you going? Is this your destination?" And you can do the big gesture like, "Huh? What's that?" And then, "Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Yeah, that's what I thought." Earplug back in.
See how long they can tell you about what they're knitting and who it's for in the or quilting as a. Before you realize you've not been listening to them the entire time.
Yes.
This is for my nephew Felix. Oh, that son of a bitch. They fly into Fort Lauderdale and are hopping aboard the Caribbean Voyager cruise line. And here's how she describes it when they get to it. If you've never seen a cruise ship before, it is big. I'm talking jaw-dropping big, as an equivalent to a high-rise building big. I stopped cold, and I'm pretty sure my jaw dropped like a country girl coming to the big city for the first time. So I guess the research she did for Dr. John David Locke didn't really pay off if she was this surprised by how big the ship she was about to board was.
It did not pay off. Twice. She references again that there's such a thing as there's several land stops and a captain's dinner, which is in all caps. So those are just things she heard about. So I don't know how her research was very walled off, like done with just like blinders on. I'm only going to research the things that involve the water, but I'm not going to actually look at how big is a ship. Like what's a cubit? How big was Noah's Ark? I'm not going to look into that. I'm just going to focus on this particular thing.
The staff is going to be very upset because I'm pretty sure there's a expected tip at the end of all these things that she didn't do any research in, so she's doing the patting the pockets for cash as she leaves. Like, ooh.
In my lead up to the Talking about my cruise ship experience, did I ever tell you about the woman who was at our table? Remember I said we were with the table and the woman shot the other one in the face?
The Long Islanders, yeah.
You're going to have to go back and listen to that if you don't know what I'm talking about. But there was obviously the place that you get the food was well far away from where you were served the food, because the poor waiter who was I think he was from South America. I think his name was, I almost had his name, but I forgot. Anyway, very, diligent guy, working hard. He came out and he served us breakfast one time. And one of the Long Island women goes, "Hey, you toasted this wrong. I like my English muffin to have the nooks and crannies toasted a little better."
What?
And he looked at her like, "This can't be happening." And he was like kind of sweating, and and she's like, "So if you could," and he's like, grabs it back, and he just like runs, and he comes back a while later. Anyway, cut forward to the end of the whole trip. You're supposed to like the envelope of, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, so sorry." I think his name was like Eugenio or something. Like, I've spent all my money, but I'll send it to you. And he goes,
"Oh, wow."
He goes in, whatever his native language was, he just like under his breath, just like shaking his head like, no. Bridget and I just look at each other like, let's just double or triple our tip.
Wow. I'll send it to you.
I'll send it to you.
You might as well just walk off with a middle finger, like in terms of like, at least being honest at that point in time.
Oh, just dripping sweat. "I toasted your nooks and crannies." Just slits her throat right at the table.
Well,
okay.
Miranda feels like she's having an out-of-body experience as she moves up the gangplank, so that's good. That's a sign that David's therapy worked here.
Okay.
I also like this. They served them some like drinks and food as they got up there. They're waiting for the late couple.
Yeah. She describes that. Yeah.
We watched as a short, chubby woman with white hair and a tall, bald man bolted along the walkway and zipped up the gangplank. No first and last names for them. I'm very disappointed. But it says,
yeah.
When the whistle blew to announce the ship's departure, I took a couple deep breaths, and the food I had just eaten rumbled uneasily. And I was like, "Ooh, here it begins, the carnival cruise where everyone gets the stomach bug and
norovirus passed around, the toilet's overflowing." Yes.
It's coming.
Yeah, her food. Remember, her food rumbled earlier when she was eating pizza. It rumbled.
Yeah, maybe we should not be ordering the same chopped salad at Sylvia's every time. Maybe Dee is right about the antacids being needed.
She got IBS from the. Oh yeah, she describes the cute little sandwiches, bags of cookies and chips, and bottled drinks, and that's the point where she would go like, "Antacids with this hog slop," because that's what we do when we're given food by a sincere food preparer. Right. We just insult them.
Eugenio has to go back and look up what hog slop means in his, Spanish to English dictionary. He's like, "What did she say? Oh my god!" Then she tours around. She checks out the bathroom, which was, to be polite, compact, and meant for thinner people. And then she goes and gets like their check-in work gives them the daily schedules for quilting presentations, as long as which the excursions and land activities, as well as like scuba diving and jet skiing, which she gives the short shrift to, and tells them that they can. It gives you a schedule for the next couple days of the quilting thing. So if you're into living vicariously through someone else's description of a cruise, this is great for you.
Yeah, the prose does not get off of just sort of describing. Yep, this is sort of accurate, except for this touch I didn't quite get. I could put my hand on the shower wall and touch the mirror above the sink. Diane stuck her head in and quickly ducked back out. Like, "Whoa," she muttered. What? For what reason did she? Was it because she caught her friend putting her hand on the mirror and touching it? Like, was she like looking at herself in a creepy, like, "Let's see if I can get that smile going." Like, whoa, hey, okay. Is this what you do when you check out a new bathroom? Like, whoa.
You lapsed into either your nooks and cranny person, like, whoa, or Black Rob, the rap song from the early aughts. I think Like Whoa was the chorus of that song. So maybe Diane is secretly a rap fan.
She's a fan.
I like this one. There was a postcard inviting us to choose the 6 p.m. dinner seating or the 8 p.m. for the rest of the cruise, and requesting we bring the cards to tonight's buffet dinner and put them in the collection box. We grinned at each other and marked the earlier time. We run on small town time and would never last until the 8 p.m. sitting. That's the thing I do when I grin at each other. Me and Laura would grin as we select the early bird seating as the thing. It fills us with delight.
Also, is that a small town thing, or is that kind of an old person thing of you? Let's be honest. There are people in small towns who could, last till a 4 a.m. dinner and be just fine and wake up at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm surprised they aren't, already asking to see the manager of the cruise ship about the 4 p.m. early bird seating.
Yes. And why don't you provide golf carts so we can drive to the buffet at the 4 o'clock hour?
Chapter 8, they are doing more meetings about the cruise ship itinerary. This is where it says that they describe Wells as they are mostly women with a few men as well. Quilting has long since become an equal opportunity art. And it's like these are the equivalent of Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson as wedding crashers. They're just here to score, man.
Yes. But she describes, I'll just read it out loud. This is her description of a buffet. Without causing unnecessary drooling, let me simply say that the buffet was probably at least 40 feet long. You ready to, you get your drool buckets ready. Divided into salads, fruit plates, carving stations, vegetables, desserts, breads, and rolls. So, Golden Corral. I mean, what?
Yes, the most basic.
Who's drooling at this very basic buffet? Like middle school lunch place with your tray on the metal thing, shoving it down the line. Like, fruit? No thanks. Oh my God.
Breads and rolls. The basically frozen, individually wrapped pads of butter that you can't spread without breaking the plastic knife they provide. Oh, yeah. Come on. I'm drooling like a Pavlovian dog here.
Wow, that is some descriptive food writing. Not exactly Proust there on the memories of her buffet.
Well, then they get introduced to a speaker who's going to fill them in on things. She turned out to be a pixie, like our missing Quilt Guild member Brittany, who's staying with her home with her baby Braxton again. Mm-hmm. Petite and fit looking, but with blonde hair, where Brit's is brown. So that's just great. We get told that this person looks like another character who is not there at the moment. And this woman is Lori Lambert, one of the quilt instructors on board. Mm-hmm. And this is a mystery. We've been waiting for what's going to happen. And so I started when I was taking notes, I was like, who's going to bite it? So right around now is when I started getting impatient. And so I started keeping track of who I think it might be.
Oh, okay. Did you peg her?
This comes later. I didn't think anything about Lori Lambert at the moment.
Okay. All right.
But she asked that you sign up for the Quilting Bee, as space is limited for that one. So that's kind of a funny space is limited for the Quilting Bee on the Quilting Cruise. I would be kind of annoyed if I went to one of those and got locked out of the Quilting Cruise, the Quilting Bee. Anything else happened in this chapter? It was kind of
she mentions. I forget where she mentions technical stuff, and I wanted to get. I put the wrong note down, so I don't have
the dimensions of the boat and stuff.
No, not the dimensions. It's when the person says, "Hey, we have these things are coming up, where we're going to talk about this and this and this and this," and all of them are like quilting things that I didn't recognize, and I'm like, well, I guess I could look it up, or we could just have a listener who's a quilter tell us, is this accurate to quilting?
Okay.
Or are they just making up terms? I just couldn't. Old-fashioned quilting bee. There's demos. Anyway, there's a few technical terms. I'm sorry. I failed to write it down as a note. Yeah,
please. If you are a quilter, write in and show off your work. We'd love to post that and let people admire it. Sean's wife, Carolyn, is a quilter. They had everyone like signed a piece of the quilt at their wedding, and so she made that during some downtime. And here's the one last thing I had here is other passengers during the safety demonstration seemed to be whispering among themselves or wandering away attention-wise, but I listened intently, taking notes on my phone. Yes, I saw Dee edging away from me, but better embarrassed than waterlogged, I say.
So Dee was still wound up. So then the next 3 paragraphs, I just wrote a note like, this is the most boring prose I've ever. Like, she went to a shop, then she had a hot dog, and then she went over here. Like, yep. She walked around the deck for a bit, and then she came back. That's it for like, I'm probably spicing it up way too much. I'm probably making it too exciting.
Dee had burst in, so excited, saying, "This ship is so awesome." She had been to the casino, the gift shop, the ice cream stand, back to the theater lounge to listen to some music from the live band on board. So she has done the things you do on a cruise.
Ooh, a cruise ship live band. Oh boy. I once met a comedian who went on the cruise ship tour as just a thing like, I met a lot of comedians who did cruise ships. I never did it. But one of them said that he bombed like 2 nights in a row so badly that they helicoptered him off the ship. I was like, oh my God.
Good
the humiliation Lord. Of sending a rope down. Like, we got to get you off of there.
I mean, geez, yeah, it was either that or probably just put him to work washing dishes. Like, what are you going to do? You can't recover from that.
The guy in a big bear suit playing like barrel piano, and people like, yes, sir, let's do this. And then his comedy, like, no, get him out of here.
You ever notice how, you only have unattractive non-silver foxes that work the long arm? Boo. What's the deal with babies named Braxton? Boo.
I think I'm being very specific here.
You ever notice how guys named Felix are excellent and polite swim instructors? That's when she rushes the stage and punches him.
Oh. All right. So that's what it's like to be on a cruise ship. And then chapter 9.
Oh, boy.
We find chapter 9 has an interesting heading.
Yeah.
Cruise Day 2, parentheses, Key West. So it's kind of like it's like one of those songs where it's like, you don't put the other title, where it doesn't have just the title of the song is the chorus. Don't give me all this garbage about.
Yeah, stay parentheses just a little bit longer, like type of thing. Come on. So yes, this is a excursion they're taking. And they're sort of planning it. They're all. I think they left Fort Lauderdale. They're sailing. It's like a 4-hour drive to get to Key West from there. So they're going to sail down there, and that's going to be how they spend the day. But not all the quilters are going to do it. Sarah says, "I've actually been there before. I think I'll stay on board and get a feel for where things are, relax on the deck, that sort of thing." She smiled. "I've got some hand quilting with me." So Sarah's the dullest person imaginable, and I was like, I'm going to get a feel for where things are. Like, didn't Dee was at the ice cream stand and the band last night. What the hell were you doing? But so I started being like, all right, so Sarah's not coming with. R.I.P. Sarah, perhaps? I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
And then it says Shelby and Judy came in and went straight for the buffet while they settled into Nosh. Shelby was full of stories about how they watched the moon over the water. Judy managed to smile, but looked more tired than enthusiastic. So, R.I.P. Judy? I don't know. She's tired.
She was full of stories about how they watched the moon over the water? What? All right.
Multiple people wrote in about that one, asking for possibly what these stories might be other than
how many can we get out of it? If you got to 3, I mean, I guess if you saw E.T. in front of the moon, that's story number 1.
Sure.
But then it would contradict that you saw like a ship explode, as the moon was settling into the water. That would be story number 2.
Yeah. Judy said, "Hey, look, was that a whale that just surfaced?" But then it wasn't. She was wrong. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a story.
I guess it's
I
a
guess.
story.
Um,
Just backing up a bit, she does say, I'd heard a lot of wonderful things about Key West. Where, where are you hearing these rumors about where they stopped? What do you mean you've heard about Key West? You did all this research and everything. What?
right. Yeah,
Right.
and it does appear that these excursions are rather, catching them by surprise if they're making these decisions on the fly.
And then when they settled into Nosh, that irritated me, and she was full of stories about it. No way I'm missing Key West. Judy drank her coffee down in one gulp and went back for seconds. Was it hot? Who? What? Have you ever
Judy
seen
looks
anyone
tired,
do
so
that?
she needed the caffeine fix. Maybe she's
But
trying to spill it and sue the cruise ship like the McDonald's lady.
was it searing her throat? Or did she sit there long enough? She just let it go and go and go and go, and it gets room temperature, and then like it's a party trick, like watch me drink my coffee. Oh,
Later on,
Judy,
Shelby was full of stories about how Judy had drank her coffee in just one
in
gulp.
one gulp, and went back for seconds.
Judy's probably just has bathroom performance anxiety on a new setting. She needs to get it moving, so she just pound into coffee in the small bathrooms that you can touch the shower and the mirror at the same time.
I'm going to risk my second TGI Friday story is in the afternoon, like ladies of a quilting age would come in and sit and drink coffee. And one of the techniques that somebody tried to use to get them to leave was to just cut off their coffee. And then a person told me like, no, 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 you pour their coffee every 3 seconds or so, or every just like so often, and they keep drinking coffee, and then that makes them stand up and have to go to the bathroom, and then they remember they should probably get going. So I always use that technique, and it worked like a charm. But if you starve them, they'll be like, where is that young man with my coffee? And then they'll go and see the manager and stuff and get you in trouble. So just pour it like crazy until they can't stop going to the bathroom.
Wow. TGI Fridays psychology. And also don't bend down to them and sing to them in your off-putting, reedy voice.
Please, these are two things I've learned.
So
All
they
right.
are going to Key West. They have traveled to this cruise on a plane together. They are a quilting guild, so they spend a lot of time together. They're going to visit Key West, which, have you ever been there? I went there a couple winters ago and had a
I
good
have never
time.
been. I remember when you went, but I have never been.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you're going to go embrace your inner dad boner and just be drinking, margs at 11:30, it's a great place to do
I
that.
assume lots of open air bars that you just kind of walk up to on the beach and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like it has sort of like its own Bourbon Street, Duval Street, where you could go and have cigars and rum. I mean,
Okay.
if that sounds appealing to you, it's a good place to do that.
Sure, sure.
But
I prefer
so
to
they're
just
going
drink
down.
my coffee down in one gulp, but to each his own.
That would work too. But so they're down with their friends, her, Dee, Queenie, and Judy. We all knew that 4 people in a group made for awkward going. So Queenie and Judy opted to explore as a pair, and Dee and I decided to go our own way. What the hell is wrong with these people? You can't travel in a pack of 4 people?
I
What would
didn't
you,
know
what,
4 was awkward. We went to Paris on a big trip with 12, which
Jeez.
was large, so we sometimes did split up, but I didn't feel like, hey man, we got to pair off by 6 groups of 6 here, because this is way too much.
Sure, 4 seems like about as standard as as a group would get. A
Seems
family could be
very,
traveling like that.
very
That's,
standard.
that's standard table size at TGI Fridays.
Yes. Two of them said we checked our time and found we could make a quick run at the Harry Truman Little White House before lunch. Yeah, you got to get your nosh in. We share a love of looking at other people's houses. Is that something you share a love of? I mean, I guess. It just seems like an odd hobby to just look at other people's houses.
Well, here's what they did as soon as Sheer and Dee got off the plane. We made our way, they spotted the beach dotted with palm trees. We made our way over and stood there watching the water and sun sparkle. We were warm and content for about 10 minutes before Dee started to twitch to move on. So they walked to the beach and stood there watching the water and sunsparkle for 10 minutes. Then they were like, we've looked at this long enough. We got to go look at Harry Truman's house, since we share a love of that as well.
Oh, and they did see Ernest Hemingway's house, which should have tipped me off that they like looking at houses. Did you go to his house?
We walked past it. We never went into it. We had too many margs to drink before we went there. But
Was his
yeah,
body
they do
still
have
in there?
famously
No.
six-toed polydactyl cats.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they missed. I think Lauren's parents might have gone, but they go to Ernest Hemingway's house. As we approached, Queenie and Judy waved at us from the back of the line. So they end up going to the same thing as them and touring the house together.
Hey, man,
Four
I just don't want
people
it.
did
It's
not
too
provide
awkward.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they
Dee
go
and I
to,
meandered into a couple shops, including Margaritaville, as a tribute to Jimmy Buffett. Oh, is that what you think of when you think of Margaritaville? And the Kitty Shop, where I looked at several sweaters for Harry.
You think the kitty shop, if it's an actual Key West business, has a big thing out front being like, as read about in The Quilting Cruise, a Miranda Hathaway adventure.
I mean, isn't this a little on brand of going to Key West and going to Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville and then the Kitty Shop to look at sweaters? Like, even the writer of this has to be like, oh, this is like ashes in my mouth as I write this crap.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if they, by the end of it, she was just like having to drag Dee out of places. Dee's trying to like flash people for beads on Duval Street or something, but they just seem to go and look at the historic buildings and buy cat sweaters.
Doesn't get much cozier than that.
The four of them meet up again at the Mel Fisher Treasure Museum. Splitting up was a mistake. I think we should acknowledge that right off the bat.
What was a
And
mistake?
then splitting up of the group, they meet up at the Ernest Hemingway Museum. They have lunch together after the Harry Truman Winter White House, and then they meet up again at the Mel Fisher Treasure Museum.
Oh, yeah, the four of us met up. Yeah, yeah. It seems like a waste of visiting houses, just kind of like crossing paths, just barely catching. You know, it's like when you stop at a stoplight and you look over and you see someone you haven't seen in 10 years. You're like, hey, how's it going? And then you go to the next stoplight and like you're still at the same stoplight. You're like,
Guess we're headed in the same direction.
oh, third one. It's like, look, would you take a right, please?
And then this is when it happens. It says, I thought I caught a glimpse of Lori, the woman who had welcomed us last night, with a tall, dark-haired man on the street. Lori is the one who looked like their other quilter, who is Braxton's mom.
Yes.
The couple stood out among the happy, laughing crowd by the sour looks on their faces. He looked annoyed, and she looked like she really wanted to be somewhere else. I also noticed the grip he had on her arm, as if he thought she was going to run away. I pulled my attention back to what Dee was saying and decided to put it out of my mind. While it seemed a shame not to be enjoying this gorgeous sunny place, not everybody is happy all the time. So I think one, R.I.P. Lori, that seems to be where this is headed. And two, like, if Miranda is solving these mysteries all the time, and she's just sort of, this is the 9th time she's had to solve a mystery, and she's noticing this obvious potential abusive situation, she's like, oh, well.
She puts it out of her mind. She decides
use
to put
your
it up.
Gifts here. This is negligent.
And then here comes pure padding from previous books as they go up the gangplank. And on the way there, she says, she sees someone. She goes, Virginia Hamilton? I said half to myself and half out loud. She turned and smiled. Hi, have we met? I turned a little pinker. Not really. I attended your session at the Lancaster, Pennsylvania Quilt Show. Her smile faded a little around the edges. Oh. You are? Miranda Downing. Okay, we get the definitive answer. Her eyes widened just enough for me to realize she knew something of my involvement with the solving of Eleanor Jones' murder, which was tied to that quilt show. Unfortunately, Mrs. Jones' popularity as the quilting queen meant that her death made more than national headlines, and my name did too. So she's like a household name.
More than national headlines, yes. I don't understand why that makes Virginia Hamilton's smile fade when she realizes what's going on.
I don't know, but she's like as recognizable as like, Scott and Lacey Peterson or something. Like they covered it forever.
Oh, that's a blast from the past. I think that's what's going to happen to Lori here, unfortunately. But yeah, she says, imagine someone coming up to you on the Riff Tracks cruise, and then they say, "Hey, I attended your Riff Tracks live show of Point Break," and that causes you to be like, "Oh."
Who are
She's on a
you?
she's on a quilting cruise. Someone says, "I attended one of your sessions at the Lancaster, Pennsylvania quilt show." So not really it's not like New York Quilt Con or something. It's a small town thing. And then she's like, "Oh, God damn it. Quilters."
It's like the people that you meet and you're like, yeah, we met at, Sarah's party. And they go like, no, I don't think so. Like, damn it. You never, when someone says we met, you met, even if you don't remember it. You don't deny them. You don't shake them off like you're a pitcher. Nah, I don't think so. Yes, we did.
So I don't know. Maybe Virginia Hamilton is suspicious too if she's being mean to our hero here. But then again, it's that old saying, if Miranda Hathaway keeps interacting with dicks all day long, then maybe take a look in the mirror and see what's if you're bringing that out in them.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone I meet is mean to me. Maybe it's you.
She notices that Lori and the dark-haired man were in the high-stakes slot area. Now, I felt pretty sure he was her husband just by the vibes they were giving off. I squinted to read a sign by the door. $500 minimum. Holy Toledo. She sure wasn't making that kind of money as a quilt instructor. Perhaps an interstate drug dealer?
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, I don't know what $500 minimum means in that situation. Because, at a blackjack table, $50 minimum, that's $50 per hand. I don't know if that's a $500 minimum per slot pull or what. But
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Because I played, I think craps. If craps had a $500 minimum, I think that means every bet.
that would be super high rolling for that.
That is extremely high rolling.
Slots, slots are known for not paying out every time you pull the handle. So this guy's just setting money on fire doing this. But it also says she didn't look any happier now than she had earlier. Maybe her husband has a gambling problem. Note to self, not my problem. So when Lori croaks, I hope that's also what the response she gets from Miranda. I am here to quilt, damn it. Can I get a break from solving mysteries?
I just like that she went. That's a Norm Macdonald bit, right? Didn't used to do
Yes,
that as
the dirty
bit?
work is
Yes. Note to self. So a weird reference. Also, she meets.
Norm was known to have a gambling problem. So
Yes,
two references back to back.
another reference to Enlightenment philosophers and comedians from the 90s and 2000s. She at the captain's dinner, which I'm just going back a little bit. The other couple was school teachers who had decided last minute to grab a cruise, and this happened to be the one they got, free to them with some points system. Do I really need to know how the school teachers paid for their cruise? Is this something that's going to come up again?
Were we supposed to be baffled by the idea of them being able to afford a luxurious trip like this? But then, okay, there we go. They got it free with some point system. But apparently they love cruising it several times a year. I don't know when they find time. School teachers have a pretty strict schedule. So
that was odd to me. All right, so they go to the $500 slot thing. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I hit my microphone. I hope that didn't trouble anyone.
that's where they waste all their the cruise tips and on one pull of the slot machines. And then she talks to Lori again. She says, "My first demo is applique at 10 a.m. if you're interested." She addressed that to me, her eyes meeting mine in a way that made me feel uncomfortable. I haven't honestly read through tomorrow's schedule yet, I muttered, looking straight down. So Lori is essentially sending her help me vibes. Yes. And Miranda's like...
She's blinking SOS with her eyes. Oh,
then
wait,
they look back.
here's another list of things I want, just if the listener, I found this is one list. There was an earlier one too. Lori's applique, that's a thing. Virginia was next, and she was doing red work, which had always intrigued Miranda Downing. A woman we hadn't met named Allison Hopewell. Thanks for the full name. Haven't met her. Was doing embroidery embellishments at 3. And Jennifer Myers was on at 5 with hand quilting without a frame. So red work, embroidery embellishments, hand quilting without a frame, and applique. I'm assuming I know what that is. But anyway, long arm, red work. Let's get this all sorted out.
Is that like, the Grateful Dead teasing a song and then moving on to something else, just giving the fans a little something to, red work. Oh,
it's great to be here in Minneapolis. Woo.
Wow.
Came down I-35. Red work.
Yeah. I ran into someone backstage. I don't have to tell you that it was Allison Hopewell. And so Lori's husband sent a frozen glare their way. So he's glaring at them as he burns through his money at the slots. And she decides not to go to Lori's applique session. They're going to both do bingo at 10 and then go to a 12:30 demo while Dee plays trivia and walks the deck.
Man, just roll that prose around on your tongue and let it play out. Oh, it's so delicious. Ultimately, we decided we'd both do bingo at 10, then I'd go to the 12:30 quilt demo while Dee played trivia and walked the deck. You can't write a sentence like that. You just finish it.
How about this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, speaking of Hemingway, the guy who could draw out a sentence about aquasizing and quilting. That's what he was known for. Here's what Dee's daily schedule was. Hers had aquasize at the pool at 8, bingo at 10, trivia at 12 in the lounge, jazzercise at 2:30, and options for a load of fun stuff that made me want to rethink my own priorities.
Oh my God.
But then they do turn in, and this is how this one ends. There's been no actual quilting, I don't think, unless you count the hand quilting that someone did off camera. And there's been no crime, but I think we're getting that way.
Yes, here
because
we go.
we do have. They are in their turning in. They're getting ready to go to bed, and then they have some Shakespearean eavesdropping. They can hear voices outside their door in the hallway. Lori,
You play
with you?
the male, and I'll play the female.
Okay. Lori, what is wrong with you?
I don't want to do this anymore. You're going to get caught.
I think you mean we're gonna get caught, right? This is the best gig I've ever had, and don't you even think about screwing it up, you hear me?
Ow! Can we move away from somebody's door and feel like they can hear every word we're saying? Ow!
Oh no, it specified that I lowered my voice, so it would be impossible for anyone to hear who was in a stateroom here.
That's true. I guess I should keep my ow down then. Ow!
I think that might be Lori, the person who gave us the quilting thing, who looks like Braxton's mother. And yeah, her and Dee say, you heard that? Yeah, sure did. Yep, if we were going to put a voice to the guy in the casino, that would be it.
Wow.
So you've got a gig. He doesn't want her screwing it up. We're going to get caught, so the gig sounds a little illicit. Maybe he's rigging the slot machines. Who knows?
Oh, but when they went on there, they were strolling around Key West because I'm assuming they share a love of looking at houses, at other people's houses. They were already sour then? Well, I mean, you can't be happy all the time. What am I saying? Of course.
Yeah. Maybe it's like the Amazing Jonathan and his assistant, that sort of comedy magic act where she's the put upon, assistant he keeps heaping abuse on, and she's tired of the act. Maybe, I don't know. On the cruise ship they're doing that.
I worked with his assistant once.
Really?
Yes. I mean, he's had more than one, but yes.
Got it. Yeah. It wasn't his actual wife.
No.
Yeah, so we get some intrigue in the last half of a page here on the final chapter of our section this
Yep.
time.
End of chapter 9, we get the inciting incident, which probably should have happened in chapter 3. But hey, who am I? All right.
We had therapy to go to with
That's true.
Dr. John David Locke.
John David Locke, who, by the way, did a poor job because she can't look at the back of the boat, which has windows on it, so you can see the water behind it. She like freaks out at that. So all of her therapy came to naught. I mean, she was cramming it in, right? Because they did the thing like, hey, we're going on a cruise. So she probably only had like 2 months, maybe 2.5 months to go to the...
Yeah, to get over a lifelong fear based on an actual horrific incident from her childhood that is
which she shall not bring up to her therapist. You know, this would be the place that you would want to bring up some of the trauma that you had, and maybe we could work through it.
I'm just so thrown off by the David thing that I just don't know if I can trust you. It's honestly just so off-putting.
It is true that I said it without even mentioning that my actual name is Jonathan, and everyone calls me that.
And the dead ringer for a Judd Hirsch is also very off-putting because
I
have nothing against him. It's just so strange and so specific that I can't bring up this trauma.
And then his, a secretary comes in and is like, Dr. Jonathan. And then he like turns like, and then I mean, David, like, what are you doing here? What is happening?
Now it makes
office?
me think you've forged your credentials and you're changing your name to avoid the state licensing board. Really?
Come to think of it, you are wearing prison stripes. What is happening here?
Just like Judd Hirsch does. I think that her decision to skip Lori's applique at 10 a.m. in order to go play bingo with Dee is going to be where some off-camera stuff happens. That's my not my first rodeo here, but I do think I'm going to.
All right. A bold prediction. All right.
Good. Let's do some dumb sentences.
Mail call.
All right, let's actually do some emails. We got some emails from people. This one's from Ben. He says, YouTube comments about dead family members isn't just on music videos.
What else is it on?
It turns out that people commenting about their dead family members deeply loving something before their death goes beyond just songs. I was watching the Death Stranding 5th anniversary special movie. That's a video game. And found the comment highlighted in the attached image. I hope you're familiar enough with Kojima's magnum opus to know how insane it is. I love the show. Looking forward to some crazy cruise shenanigans. So this is a 5th anniversary of a video game that I believe was supposed to be a sort of like insane, just like a video game art, you know?
Yeah.
And this person said, my grandma loved the stories and games, but had arthritis and didn't understand the controls really well, so she enjoyed watching me play. This was the last game I played for her before she passed. 26 likes.
Wow.
This one is from Jacob. He recently read a book by Russell Kirk that covered urban renewal in America. He had this to say about the disruption caused by urban renewal. It mentions that George Romney, on leaving the governorship of Michigan to take a cabinet post in Washington, declared on television that the principal causes of the devastating riots in Detroit during 1967 had been the consequences of urban renewal and federal highway building in the city, destroying long-settled neighborhoods. And he says, in other words, George Romney blamed the freeway for the Detroit riots. Little did he know that decades later, the freeway would contribute to the near ruination of a cozy Pennsylvania town populated largely by quilters. Thank goodness the quilters pushed back. Here we go. This is Tim. He says, it's critical to remember throughout the book that Miss Miranda is essentially a household name, if not a full-fledged international super sleuth. She solved the murder of Eleanor Jones, which made more than national headlines. All the quilters would know who she is instantly. It would be the same as if you had solved Mr. Rogers or Raffy's murder. It made international news, and yet you went to a convention about music for children, and no one expected no one to recognize you.
Yes.
This is from Jeffrey. He says, as we're in cozy season, it's only natural that this would come to my attention now. And he sent us a link that I will include to the distressing tie between Celestial Seasonings tea and eugenics. And he says the founder of Celestial Seasonings tea, they make the sleepy time tea with the bear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the bear, the coziest image in the world, that bear in his pajamas and long cap in front of the fire drinking his tea. Celestial Seasonings co-founder John Hay was associated with the Urantia Book Fellowship, which published a 2,097-page tome called the Urantia Book in 1955. That the best way to describe it would be that it looks like it sort of took super constitution's beliefs to more extremes.
They were pretty tame by comparison.
That's what the sleepy time bear falls asleep reading in front of that fire every day. So think about that for your coziness.
Isn't yogi tea is also was a weird cult, right? And that's extremely popular. But the yogi was like this creepy dude who preyed on people and took their fortunes and slept with women and bought mansions, and he started yogi tea, which you see everywhere. So that's just I don't know.
When we just hold our cup of tea with two hands and pull our knees up to our thing without it being run by a cult, is that too much to ask?
Exactly.
This is from Brad. I just got back from my local bar trivia night. One of the questions tonight in the prime numbers theme was, The Starlight Barking was a 1967 sequel to this novel by Dodie Smith. As everyone on my team was scratching their heads, I immediately jumped in with the correct answer, 101 Dalmatians. Finally, some useful knowledge came from my years of listening to my favorite podcast about bad books. Thank you for helping us snag 7 points.
Nice.
And Josh is the last one. I was reading a collection of short stories by the pulp writer Carl Jacobi, and I came across one called The Kite. I thought, this surely can't be about an evil kite, but it absolutely was. It's told from the point of view of an English doctor living in Borneo. He gets called in to look on the sick wife of an acquaintance. This acquaintance was in the British military and shockingly did some bad things. His wife was cursed by one of his victims. Her life was tied to this kite. When it stayed up in the wind, she was fine, but when it dipped low, her heart rate and breathing would drop, and if it touched the ground, she would die. It wasn't a bad story, all told, but how weird is it to read 2 stories with evil kites? That is weird.
It is.
All right, let's read the dumb sentences of the week.
Dumb sentence of the week.
All right, these are dumb sentences, well, again, submitted by our Patreon listeners at patreon.com/372pages. Here we have the dumbest sentences from the first 9 chapters of the Quilting Cruise. First one is from Heather. She says, I'm talking jaw-dropping big, as in equivalent to a high-rise building. And she says, of course, Miranda's jaw dropped in the next sentence, too. So, Rob and Alejandro both submitted, overall, I find that quilters simply don't waste time. And said, well, if the first 9 chapters are any indication, this is not a true statement. Cynthia and Janelle submitted, Shelby was full of stories of how they watched the moon over the water. Stephanie, Tim, and Josh all submitted one of the quilters who was trying to get Miranda to go on the cruise by saying, most cruises take place on the water. Amanda submitted, well, this is... We know what this is from because we talked about it, but it's preceded by Diane looking into the bathroom. Whoa, she muttered. Jacob submitted, Judy, another cruising rookie, is the mother of a college-aged son and had gotten us started on our adventures with her inherited quilted skirt that held hidden jewels. And Jacob said, I'm assuming this is a reference to an older book in the series, but it's wild to just throw it in like that. Jacob and George both submitted, let me introduce you to Harry, who, yes, bears the same name as my beloved first husband, Harry. Jacob said, redundant, clumsy, dumb, and redundant. George said, submitted with mixed feelings, as this may be, in fact, the greatest sentence I have ever read. Beth submitted, I said nothing because it didn't require a great deal of thought on my part. Waka submitted hopefully this will be an iconic sentence in the podcast history. Fine, thank you, and you can call me David.
Okay.
It's sort of Robot Pimpy. If any character goes on to say that line, something is going right, I think.
Yes.
Tyler submitted, her eyes widened just enough for me to realize she knew something of my involvement with the solving of Eleanor Jones's murder, which was tied to that quilt show. Emily submitted, this is a good one because she fact checked. While preparing to visit the Harry Truman Little White House, it said, this 1980s home served pretty much as Truman's Camp David. And Emily said, also serving as Truman's Camp David is Camp David. For Wikipedia, he visited actual Camp David 10 times during his 8 years in office. A very Dan Brownian factual oversight. Jay, Mark, and Harrison all submitted, as you might expect. He asked me about any water-related incidents in my childhood that I don't think it's necessary to go into here. John submitted, yes, we cheer him on and pretend he's right, and thank heaven no one is recording this. Which was that? What was that from? I don't remember. Nathan submitted, what if he convinced me to kill someone or rob a bank? And he said, please let this be a hidden plot for a future Quilters novel. Jackson submitted, moving up the gangplank was an out-of-body experience. Jackson just got engaged. Congratulations to him. Probably also a out-of-body experience, I would guess, just like moving up the gangplank of a cruise ship. Colette submitted, I know this. This is when the evil dark-haired man who plays $500 slots shoots them a look. I know this because I took a shiver and heard Dee swallow. And Colette just said, took a shiver? With four question marks after it. An expression you've heard before?
Well, when I'm scaling stones, I sometimes take a shiver. So, yes. No, I've never heard that before.
Hayden submitted, note to self, not my problem. He said, how many times do you think Miranda and Gabe have watched Dirty Work?
Okay.
Kate submitted, we all knew that 4 people in a group made for awkward going. She also acknowledged that was weird. And Mark Berger submitted, Sylvia's been jazzing it up a bit, and today she was offering a chopped salad with chicken, bacon, avocado, and other yummy things served with a dipping sauce. He said, what absolute lunatic eats their salad with a dipping sauce? He also describes it, a Cobb salad with an avocado.
Is he the only one who noted that dipping sauces are not served with chopped salad?
Someone else had to have. Maybe other people submitted it like as here's another one if you don't get it from other people.
Okay,
But,
yes. All
right. Did you have any that we didn't cover so far?
No, I kind of burnt them all because I really liked the unnecessary drooling sentence and then going on to describe a very ordinary buffet.
Bread and rolls, though. And rolls.
A carving station, which of course puts you in mind of the training one with that greasy kid. Did you see the game today?
How about that weather we're having, huh?
Oh, that one cracks me up. It's so good.
I had one that was, again, it must be related to something they've covered earlier, but if not, it just stands out incredibly. She's a lovely woman, and I'm not just saying that because she gave me a Victorian settee. I think it was jewels hidden in her quilt or something was the previous adventure.
Oh, I hope there's a whole book about someone giving someone a settee. Which is, that's one of those things, like, I think I have a vague knowledge of what a settee is, kind of like I do a credenza, where I'm like, okay. But if you held you held this up and said, this is a credenza, I'd be like, could be. I'm not sure.
Well, what do you think a settee is, just so people can then write in and criticize us if we're incorrect? I have no idea.
I think a settee is like a wide chest of drawers. I don't know. Is that right? And then you sit down, like, is it
lots of confidence?
Is it a place you'd sit down and put your makeup on? Like, who's that? What we did that short with an actress who, Constance Benning's makeup.
Constance Bennett's daily beauty ritual.
Was she at a settee? I don't know. I'm really risking it here. So I said a settee is either a wide chest of drawers or a place you sit down to put your makeup on. That's my only answer.
Wow, people are going to be chiming in with this within seconds of finishing. How did you hear the end of the podcast? We posted this 2 minutes ago. Somehow they're able to criticize you. They have a sixth sense for that. That's it for me. I'm excited for someone to bite it in this next section.
I can't wait. I mean, obviously, I think the next chapter we better have the death, right? Because we're wrapping it up in 3?
Yep, this is the first
3?
third of the book.
Is that right? 3?
So this is the first act. Do you think they're going overboard?
Ooh, they would die. Well, you mentioned die like you fall overboard. You die like you're hitting cement, right? So yes, I think so.
Yeah, and you can't turn the ship around and try to go back to scoop up their body. Like if someone's hat falls off of a speedboat, you could be like, all right, get the net, we'll go around and pick it up. But
although, what's
cruise
a
ship,
murder
that's-
mystery without a body? Like it just disappears? That seems lame too. So I think maybe a knitting needle through the eye or something. A long arm to the
quilted
back of
being
the head.
framed.
Yeah,
It
who
could be
knows?
any of us.
Who
We don't have the
knows?
needles.
All right, thanks everyone.